Hi, my name is Bridget Quast. I'm an occupational therapist here with Medical Support Service in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Today, my topic is talking about transitions. Some children struggle with transitioning or moving from one task to another, and even in a perfect world, this can be a difficult task. But now that children are at home more, it can be even more of a struggle to pull a child away from a preferred task like free time or games to a less preferred task such as schoolwork. Some ideas for improving transitions would be to start with setting up a routine. For most kids, home is home and school is school, and the distinct differences between the locations and the people present already signal that a change in expectations has occurred. Due to our current circumstances, home has become the catch-all location for many things. For schooling, for family time, for leisure time, sometimes even therapy sessions or medical appointments are happening in the home. Make sure to set up clear expectations for the times for activities, such as school, and set a start and an end time to make sure to build in breaks. Use schedulers or calendars that make sense for your child. If you have a kid that understands time, maybe you could use a schedule that has blocks of 45 minutes at a time, for example. So that when you say math is going to start at 10:30 and it will end at 11:45, your child would understand that. You can be very clear and very concise about your timing. But if you have a child who doesn't know how to tell time or can't keep track of time well because that's a concern for them or an issue for them, try picture cards. One of the things that I've brought in are our sample picture cards that we use here in the clinic. Maybe you could use index cards with the name of a subject or an expectation. Maybe it's a picture of your child on your phone or a device. I know for my children, using the actual picture of my child making their bed helped with getting their enthusiasm for an activity such as making their bed, a chore that they weren't interested in, but when we posed for pictures and then we showed them in their own pictures, that got them a little more excited about an activity like that. There are lots of different ways that you can get picture cards going. Another thing is make sure that you can cross off in your schedule or your calendar, or in the case of, for example, our picture board here, our PEC board, have it so that your child can move it from green, they've got to go, to red, it's been done. And that act of crossing something off can help with that mental load that exists when you've got a lot to do or are disorganized about how to get as many things that you have on your list done as possible. It can help someone really feel like they've accomplished something, and it can increase the power that a child feels over their environment instead of feeling helpless with that transition. If they can cross something off their list or flip over an index card or take Post-it notes off the fridge or whatever to help them feel like they've done something and it's been acknowledged. When you're scheduling, make sure to understand the limitations of a child's attention span. A normal attention span is 3 to 5 minutes per age of the child. So a typically developing 2-year-old will be able to attend to a task for between 6 and 10 minutes. Likewise, a typically developing 10-year-old should be able to focus for 30 to 50 minutes. And certainly attention span can fluctuate depending on the newness of the task, personal interests, and neurological makeup. Encourage your child to focus for as long as necessary for a task, but understand that some assignments need to be broken into smaller bits so as to not exceed a reasonable expectation for attention to task for that age. Try to keep each date as predictable as possible. Right now, with schools having various different schedules, whether it's in-person schedules or every other day in person, every other day virtual, 100% virtual. The predictability has reduced right now for being able to figure out what a day is going to look like. Try as much as possible to keep each school day or each start to the day as predictable as possible to increase that support that a child has by providing routine. If you are having an every other day schedule with school, something like that, talk to your child's teachers about having a more consistent approach if that's something you need. They are there to support your child's success as well. So if you can come up with a way that you can work on history every single day instead of every other day, that's going to help your child as well as the teacher. When you're talking about transitions, work on giving a warning or an alert to your child as much as possible before a transition has to occur. About 2 or 3 minutes before a task is ideal, so that it's early enough that there's preparation personally for the child, but not so far in advance that they can't wrap their head around when this warning is going to happen or when this transition is going to occur. Make sure when you give your warning to your child that you do it personally, not shouting from across the room, not through a device like Alexa or anything like that. Try to give this warning of a transition impending as personal and one-on-one as possible. Try to keep it calm, quiet, and with eye contact. Get on eye level with your child. Use gentle, tactile cues if necessary or if that's helpful for your child. Really make sure that you're seeing and hearing one another. Many children often need the auditory feedback for themselves that they have heard the instructions. So it would go something like, Johnny, we're gonna go to the store in 2 minutes. Did you hear me? Tell me what you heard. And then Johnny could say back, I heard you say that in 2 minutes we're going to the store. Great, now we're all on the same page. And by using a calm voice and a calm approach, you guys can feel in sync instead of in competition. When you're setting that stage for the expectation of a transition, make sure that you are honest with that time. So if you and Johnny have agreed to 2 minutes for the transition to go, make sure that 2 minutes is really 2 minutes. Set a timer for yourself, whether it's on a watch, a phone. We love here at the clinic visual timers that lose their color as they're counting down. So a 5-minute timer would look like that. And then as the color disappears, a child who might not be able to tell time can understand that time is disappearing. These have alarm functions, and I'm sure that there's an app for everything. So I'm sure that there's an app on a phone that could also be a visual timer. But make sure that you stick to the fidelity of whatever your warning was. So if you said 2 minutes, set a timer for 2 minutes so that everyone really does stay on track with 2 minutes. That will help everyone begin to understand what 2 minutes feels like, and it will also help you with that consistency of a promise is a promise. When you are talking about transitions, you also want to take breaks. Not all transitions need to be transitions to bad things, from preferred tasks to non-preferred tasks. Make sure you also use your transitions for non-preferred tasks into preferred tasks. And brain breaks and things like that are a good way to break up some of the feeling that a child often has, that a transition means that something bad is coming. You can use short breaks in the middle of a lesson, for example, if a child is struggling with attending to homework or something like that, keep those breaks to like 5 minutes or less so that you really do keep focus on the fact that you have to get down to work and this isn't just a time to be distracted. But if it's a good, solid brain break and you are truly walking away from work, transitioning from one school subject to another, or transitioning from coming home from school to playtime, schedule those breaks in with your running calendar or your running schedule for the day, so that those breaks that are of a more substantial time frame really do stand out in your schedule and are part of your daily schedule. Many kids who suffer from difficulty with transitions benefit from hard work or heavy work to increase their focus and to reorganize their sensory system. Heavy work breaks could be push-ups, sit-ups, mountain climbers, jumping jacks, running in place, marching in place, taking a short walk with a backpack full of books, or pushing a heavy laundry basket around the house, something like that really gets their heart rate up, their breathing increased, so that they really get a shot of adrenaline and can reset their system with hard work. Short sensory breaks can also be a good transitional tool. Playing with kinetic sand or putty, or playing in shaving cream or something like that you can do in a short amount of time, that kids can really engage their sensory systems to reset. Breaks can also be quiet, contemplative, or mindful activities. Deep breathing, meditation, guided imagery, all those things can be good calming breaks, depending on what your child needs, if they need something up or down as far as their sensory system goes. There are some great apps out there like Calm and things like that can help with some of the mindful practices. Play around with those with your child to see what works for you. Consider that sometimes children have difficulty with transitions when they dread or are challenged by the next task coming up. For example, if a student doesn't feel, or a child doesn't feel confident with reading, and reading's the next subject up, that's going to be a harder transition. Anxiety related to the anticipation of what's coming next can make some transitions more difficult than others. If you feel like this is the case for your child, try to have a frank discussion, even with very young children. Obviously, make the language you use as appropriate to their age as possible, but try to have a frank discussion that there are some things that we have to engage in that we're not excited to do. But work can be done to calm down beforehand, to understand that work has to be done, to break up without prolonging the avoided task or the task they'd like to avoid. But try to talk, when you're not in that situation, try to talk to your child about what might be a helpful way for them to address transitioning into an activity that is less preferred or that really has them anxious. Other tools that you can use for transitioning into activities would be to use a weighted animal or a lap pad during those higher stress activities or higher stress classwork. You could also consider having a special snack or a reward, or use a separate space for the activities that are the most challenging, so that that space doesn't get lumped into the rest of their day. We only go to the bedroom to work on our hardest work, and then we go back out to the kitchen table. Try to alternate hard and easy tasks. For some children, this does not work. You have to get all the hard stuff finished right away, or you have to get all the easy stuff out of the way. But for some kids, it works best to alternate easy and hard. There is less of a mental load on a child when they have something easy or something they're very successful with. If you can push their schedule to align with either everything hard right away, if that's what works for your kid, or easier things right away to cross off as much on their list as possible, figure out what your child wants, and a frank discussion might help. Or you could try different approaches and talk about, this week we're going to try light, easy for your workload. Or this week we're going to try all heavy stuff, get it out of the way, and then light stuff for the rest of the day, so that you can see how your child responds to the different approaches. One of the questions that we received prior to going live on this Facebook Live event was about managing that sensory overload that causes the crash the first week of school. Thoughts to keep in mind are to keep things as simple as possible. Prep as much as you can the night before. Lay out clothing, shoes, toothbrushes, everything that you will need the next morning. Book bags, lunches, prep as much as possible before your day begins. Even if you're doing school at home, prep your space in advance. Put the computer or device, pencils, workbooks, all right next to each other in one space, so that there isn't any running around that causes that increase in anxiety if you've got things spread all over the house. Try as much as possible to start out early for every task you're going to do that first week of school. Leave 10 to 15 minutes early, even if it's just walking to the end of your driveway to catch a bus. Leave early. That allows that extra time to just breathe and reduces that stress associated with running late. Avoid extras that first week or month of school if that's a challenge for you. Extra outings, shopping, eating out, any extras that you might have typically into your schedule. Understand that setting of the routine for the new school year disrupts everything, and try to pare down your schedule as much as possible to the bare necessities. Make sure you and your child get enough sleep and work toward your best nutrition and hydration. Get some fresh air, because that helps everything. Set clear expectations for each day and keep your daily goals as achievable as possible. Remember that, especially when we're doing so much on a computer these days, that eyes can fatigue very quickly, and that strain on the eyes can cause an irritation and anxiety as well. The 20-20-20 rule is good for eyeball breaks. For every 20 minutes that you are on a computer, you want to take at least 20 seconds of a break to focus on something at least 20 feet away. So if I've been on a computer for 20 minutes, when that 20 minutes is up, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to look across the room, or go to a different room and look at something at least 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds, so that you aren't just that short distance of 16 inches that, or less if you're talking about a smaller device, that we tend to be from our computers. Our eyes really strain to hold that gaze for a long time. I hope that this was helpful. Good luck with your transitions. This is not an easy time for any of us, and it's not an easy time for our kids especially. So be gentle with each other. Good luck. Take care. Bye.